No little cinnamon gum freshens breath longer than Big Red.
So kiss a little longer, stay close a little longer, hold tight a little longer, longer with Big Red. That Big Red freshness lasts right through it. Your fresh breath goes on and on. While you chew it, say goodbye a little longer, make it last a little longer. Give your breath long-lasting freshness with Big Red.
Welcome back. My name is Chris Black, and I am your host this week. I hope you've had a great week. I know I have, and boy, do I have the goods today. We're going to talk about Father's Day. That's what it's all about today. We're going to talk about Father's Day. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the movie Maverick. I'll let you know before I delve too deep if you haven't seen it already. Of course, it's been out 3 weeks. You should have been able to see it by now. And then, of course, we'll get into one of the cool gifts that my kids got me for Father's Day. All that and more. Tune in for episode 10, Chris Black, and we're going to keep it professional. So, man, we're coming off the Father's Day weekend, and let me tell you, I need a weekend to recoup from the weekend. It was absolutely incredible. Friday afternoon, man, it was a hot one Friday. All last week was, I'll just put it to you like this. It's warm enough to make you, reconsider where your eternity is going to be spent. It was warm outside. So, I get done with work and I head to the house, and I had a doctor's appointment on Friday, which went really well. Everything's on the up and up. Looks like I'm going to live a little bit longer. So it was a great day. Friday, we had a lot of fun. I had lunch with my wife, and I don't get to spend as much time with her as I'd like, especially, going out to lunch and things like that. But we went and had some Mexican. We had some things to talk about, and we just had a great time. And I went to work, finish up a few things, and I got home Friday evening. Man, I was just, it was a long one. It was a hot day out. So we're sitting there watching a little television. And I'm working on some things with the old laptop there. And my wife says, it's Father's Day weekend. Would you like to go, maybe go see Maverick? And I was like, well, I'm good with that. What are my choices? So, she said 1:30, and then they got like a 4:30 option. And then it gets into the evening. And, of course, 1:30, either one, I don't really care. I mean, it's, lunchtime. We eat before we go. And if we go at 4:30, that's going to put me a little later. But, it is what it is. So I said, let's go for 1:30. How about that? Okay, cool. So we shoot for 1:30, and I sleep in a little bit and pill around the house for a little bit, and my wife tells me let's get something to eat before we go, and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I figure 1:30. The movie's gonna start at I'm given to understand there's 15 to 20 minutes in credits, but we want to be there a little early. So we want to maybe grab our seats by 1:15, 1:20. So the lights go down at 1:30, and we'll be watching the movie hopefully 10 to 2. So we back that up with the lunch spot. We can eat here. We don't have to leave until this time. But, hey, my wife always likes to be everywhere early, which is fine. So we leave a little early, and we show up at the lunch spot. A nice little delicatessen. It's great. But I wasn't the only one that had that idea. So we drove past. There were cars all the way out to the street. There was a line around the building. I don't know what was going on, but I told the wife, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to make it through that. It looks like they got a little bit of a wait, forming the line and so forth. Let's go to a plan B. So we go across the street to a plan B, place I hadn't been in a very long time. It's another, deli style. Of course, I haven't been there in a very long time, and I think my wife said she'd been there once or twice when we lived in Auburn, so that's been at least 7.5 years. So we go in there and we navigate the menu, and we place our order, and the wait staff wasn't really excited or in a hurry. It was kind of like, yeah, what you want? All right, cool. What's your name? We'll get your order to you. They took my money. It was like $30 for 2 sandwiches, chips, and drinks. I'm like, oh my God. But that's that's what it runs these days. That's no problem. So, we sit there, and my wife and I were talking for a little bit, and, finally after about, 15 minutes or so, they call us to, get our order, and we sit down and have a great lunch and kind of talk about some things. And, 2 lunches in 2 days, man, I must be living right. So look down, and we got about an hour to kill before our, ETA. So we go out and to the parking lot, and my wife is going through her phone looking for some stuff, and we see a friend of ours that we hadn't seen in a long time, and it was good to run into her. We chatted for a bit, and I said, well, we got 2 errands to run. Can we do those before? She's like, well, I don't want to leave the paint in the truck because it's hot, and can't buy fresh vegetables and leave them out, in the heat. And so I said, all right. So basically, we got about 45 minutes to burn. Let's head toward that direction. So we took the long way around to the theater, and I haven't been to a movie theater in a while. I mean, it's been a good long while. Last one I think I went to, I took Skylar to a Harry Potter showing of sorts, and that was probably the last time I went. But the first thing that drew my attention was I thought the place was abandoned because there was more weeds than grass. We pull up. I mean, the grass is awful. They have these little pylons, in the parking lot. They got these little trees growing, and they're nice, but, the grass looks like, it's got weeds in it. There's crabgrass. It's kind of crazy. So I asked my wife, I'm like, are you sure this place is open? She's like, they took your money. It's, it's fine. It's don't worry about the grass. And I just couldn't believe that. There's a commercial on the radio here locally that says, your landscape is the first impression of your business. So let us, make sure you have a good first impression. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty slick marketing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Nah, they're right 100%. I thought this place was abandoned. Seriously, there's no lights on the building because it's daytime. It's bright colored and it's nice and all, don't get me wrong. But, the parking lot had some cars in it, but the weeds and so forth just make this place look abandoned. It was crazy. So we park, and, it's like, I don't know, 10 after 1 now. Let's just call it. And that's when everybody starts pouring in. I'm like, oh, Lord. We started seeing the lines of cars come in. And my wife's like, you know why that is? I'm like, yeah. So they pour in. It is what it is. And I'm like, all right, well, let's go. So I get my readies on, and we go in. Of course, I haven't done the movie theater thing in a long time, and I'm used to the box office out front and navigate. No, it's not like that anymore. We're A-list, Premier, Stub, whatever the hell's, members. And we go right to the front of the line. We roll over to concessions. They, scan my wife's phone, and the lady's like, did you pre-order concessions? I'm like, what is she talking about, pre-order concessions? She's like, you want anything? I'm like, not really. I think we're good here. So she's like, how about some Reese's Pieces? So she kind of got me on the slide with that. So, of course, we brought in bottles of water because ain't no way I could give them $5 for a bottle of Dasani, okay? It's just, that'll never happen. So, the experience was completely different from what I remember. And there was nobody to take your tickets. There was nobody in that chair. So we just roll up in there, and I knew we were going within reason. And so I'm like, cool, man. So we walk on down to, we were in lucky number 13, Theater 13, and we walk in, and again, it's different from what I'm used to. I don't remember it being like this, but there's one door, and you have to traverse across, but I like to be as tall as possible without being in the very last row, and I like to be toward the center. Now, when I used to take Skylar to the movie theaters, we always had to sit to the side where they had the 2-seaters or the 3-seaters, because this boy would talk to the whole damn movie. I'm talking like, Dad, you see the guy right there? Yeah, he's going to come up and get him from behind. In the book, he would explain the book version versus in the middle of the movie. And there was one guy, I thought I was going to have to fight. My son was, I don't know, Skylar was probably about, 5 or 6 years old. And this guy I was like, dude, he's got ADHD. He's like, I think he was like in kindergarten first. I don't remember. But I'm like, we're here to see the movie about the book he read. Like, relax. He was like, I paid to see the movie. Yeah, so did I. So calm down. So it's nice to be able to go with my wife, who I knew wasn't going to talk to the whole thing, and kind of sit, center toward the top. It was a lot of fun. So we get our seat. And one thing I've learned about people is I don't think they realize that they're inconsiderate, but they're just inconsiderate some days. So what time the movie starts. It's at 1:30. It says it on the ticket. You picked your time. All right. I'm good with that. people, 135, they're starting the previews, and, the previews, by the way, are terrible. They give you just enough. I mean, I didn't see anything that really, piqued my interest. There was one movie in particular that did, but I never got the name of the movie. I'm like, who does this crap? It used to be, come in this summer, the young man and his monkey, flying around on a carpet. Their lives are changed and they meet a genie, blah, blah, blah. Join us for, Disney's Aladdin, starting sometime this summer. Like, they tell you what the movie was. Like, that was the whole point. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So that was kind of different. But again, I know things change, whatever. And so we're sitting there and, they kind of got the lights dimmed down. And here's my thing. When they say, and it used to be, no talking and, visit the concession stand now and all that. But now it's like no talking, no texting, turn the brightness of your phone down. I mean, this and that. Like, please don't be distracted. All right, cool. When they say that and enjoy the movie, they should close and lock the doors. If you ain't got a spot, you ain't coming in. You knew what time the movie started. You knew what time to be here. You knew that the opening credits were going to hit. Boom. Previews at 1:30. All right. I'm good with, 135, 140. People still kind of pour it in. That's, again, no problem. I get it. Things happen. The movie starts. Again, showtime is at 1:30. At 1:57, the movie's done been started. All right, so the people are late. The opening credits have already done their thing. I'm not going to spoil it for you yet, but later on in the segment, I'm going to bust the doors wide open. But anyway, and they've done the big introduction, the big hello, how you doing? It's, bam, now it's the quiet time. I look around and there's still people coming into the theater trying to find a spot. Now, the way our theater is set up is you have, like, when you walk in on one side of the theater, there's this big, like, crossover so you can come up because the stairs are on the one side of the theater, right? And then below there's about, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 rows in the front. That's the loser row. That's the you done came in late. There's nowhere left to sit. They're just trying to get a couple of dollars out of the seats in the front. That's those couple of rows, right? So if you come in at like 1:53, knowing it starts at 1:30, you shouldn't be allowed in to start with. But if you get in, you sit in the loser rows in the front. It is what it is. I served my time. I got my spot. I don't understand why this is so hard to, All right, so big introduction. People still kind of coming in. And then a faux pas that I thought I would never see. Who the hell changed all the snack rules at a concession stand? Now, when I went to a movie last, which has been a while, admittedly, it's been at least 7 years, all the candies and choices came in boxes. And you either had the box or the cardboard tub, if you will, for the popcorn. It didn't come in a crinkly paper bag, which, by the way, butter sucks when you hit your butter with the popcorn. It goes to the bag, just in case you didn't know. So we get into, it's quiet now. There's people still trying to find their seat because they don't have their lives together. I get it. That's fine. And I kept hearing crinkle. So it's quiet. They're kind of to the details. They draw you in close. They draw you in real close. You're listening. You're trying to hear, but you can't hear anything because all the wrappers and the crinkling and the crackling and all that kind of foolishness. So I don't know who thought the plastic wrappers were a good idea. They're not. Cardboard was much better. I mean, you can open your Reese's Pieces cardboard action while it's loud, and you can still, slide your fingers in the box and grab a couple and put them in your mouth, and nobody knows the difference. Every now and then you might hear some of the Reese's Pieces bang around. That's fine. I get it. So, anyway, I just thought it was kind of strange. They've changed that. So, anyway. So then we go through, we watched the movie, and it was a lot of fun. It was very exciting. And I haven't seen a good movie in a while. I'm not really a movie person, but, a lot of people have talked about this. I figured I'd go check it out. Why not? I enjoy a good movie. We'll see what's what. And it was good. I mean, it's the kind of movie you could take the pastor to within reason. Not a whole lot of swearing. I don't think they dropped an F-bomb. Maybe once, but if they did, I don't remember it. And, all the derogatory stuff was implied. There was no nudityness. I mean, it was really a class act. I was really impressed. The quality of the film, the storyline made sense. It was wonderful, and it was longer than I thought it would be. But, I mean, I was busy the whole time. It was action-packed. And I wasn't even paying attention to the little girl that was talking to the man she came with down, I say man, but it was a couple of sorts. And they're kind of in front of us down the way a little bit. She kept talking, having full-blown conversations. Now, my wife can't let this crap go. I just ignored it. And people get up there. I mean, you pay good money to see a movie. How are you going to get up and leave in the middle and then come back? Like, you missed there's a whole section of things that have now happened that you just missed. So, and you ain't going to get caught up. You might as well just leave and not come back and watch it again, start over. And don't come after the movie started. We don't have that conversation. So, anyway. So, we get through all the fun stuff, and the movie's over with, and they showed everybody's picture and their name at the end. I guess that's a change, too, because usually they starring and all that's in the beginning. This was at the end. I guess they want you to wait till the whole thing. I don't know. But that was a little different. I guess the movies have changed a lot in the last, let's call it 10 years. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty. If you haven't seen it yet, or you don't want to hear about it, or you don't want to discuss it, that's fine. But we're going into Maverick moments now. Okay, and this is where I talk about moments in the movie of Maverick. And I'm going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. If you don't care, then whatever. But we're going to enter Maverick moments in 15 seconds. So I'm giving you enough time. Press the pause button. Skip ahead. Just go to the next segment. You should be good. It'll be about 5 minutes later. So you should be all right. So 5 minutes from now, you should be good. We're done. All right, welcome to Maverick Moments, where I'm going to talk about stuff that was actually in the movie. We're only going to do this for about 5 minutes. So anyway. All right. So first things first, the introduction was absolutely incredible. I thought it was kind of an homage to the original, but, it made sense. It wasn't like, well, we're going to redo the old. No. It was similar, but it was different. And I just watched the original one a couple weeks ago, so it was kind of fresh on my mind. The storyline I thought was pretty cool. Of course, you start off, Maverick's in trouble because he's supposed to go to, Mach 10, and of course he, pushed it to, pushes the envelope. Just why not? Gets in a lot of trouble, and Iceman always helps him out. Always bails him out. Well, my wife mentions to me during the movie when they bring Val Kilmer, his character up. She's like, this is part of a true story. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, he's really like that in real life. I'm like, nuh-uh, I didn't know that. Well, I didn't either. So I thought it was pretty cool they were able to bring Val Kilmer back and give him a part, so to speak. And, of course, that was kind of rough. He's always been there to bail his buddy out. And, of course, you watch the first one, you know why. All that makes sense. So that was another thing. I thought it was pretty cool. They got Val Kilmer in the mix, and away we go. Of course, I figured when the mission came down the pike, they had to go into this nuclear whatever and bypass this and all that. I knew it was going to be a challenge, and it was very reminiscent of the Armageddon. Like, you get these two teams, you figure out the best of the best, blah, 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 whatever. You get the idea. It's what it reminded me of. And there were going to be challenges, and, that's all well and good. But when they actually went to go fly the mission, and he picks his wingman, I kind of knew that was going to, I knew how that was going to play out. But when they got to the portion where they go through, drop the bombs, and they're coming back, and Maverick ejects, and they couldn't just leave it be. No, they had to add an extra 15, 20 minutes to, Rooster shoots the guy down that was shooting him on the ground, and he ejects from his plane, and they go and steal a museum piece, blah, 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 and, again, they couldn't let it die. They had to leave it open for, maybe when I'm 70, we'll have another sequel. I don't know. But I thought that was kind of interesting, the way they kind of left that, kind of left over. But all in all, I thought it was a very good tribute to the original movie. It was a good continuation of the original story. And I like the way they kind of sprinkled in little, bits and pieces. I promised his mother before she died I wouldn't let anything happen to him. And then, of course, here they are in some third world nation flying an airline relic and, putting life in danger. And, when I tell you, pull the rings and eject. And, of course, he doesn't eject, and it's a whole big thing. And I just thought it was very interesting. I thought it was crafted very well. I really... Other than the fact that they saved Maverick, which I'm glad they did, that was the only part that seemed kind of out of the way to me. But I'm not a Navy guy or a pilot, so I guess it's entirely possible. But that was pretty interesting. So we get through the movie, and we had some errands to run, as I mentioned. So when we come back, I'll tell you about something else I discovered after the fact. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So, we've been to the movie. We've now watched Maverick. If you didn't skip through, I've now spoiled it for you. My bad. But I told you, and it was about 5 minutes, give or take. So, anyway. It was... We get through all that, and of course, by the time I leave, I'm getting older, and I'm learning since I've had a heart attack. I'm aging. I'm doing all right, but it's like, for example, I drank a bottle of water during a movie. I had some Reese's Pieces during the movie, and I drank probably about 32 ounces worth of water before the movie. I didn't have to go when I came in. And by the way, I don't know if this is just me, but when the people started cheering toward the end and they were clapping and hooting and hollering, I was reminded of that. I believe it's the Progressive commercial that says, "Why are you clapping? Nobody that made the movie is here." Like, that stuck out to me. And also, when I left the theater, I needed to visit the restroom. And I thought of that we all know what our restrooms are and what they do and how to use them from that same commercial. But I had something interesting that's never happened before. I go to tell my wife, I got to go to the restroom. I got to, my eyeballs are floating. All right, no problem. We go down there, and there's men standing in line. And I'm like, who the hell? I've never been to a men's room where you have to stand in line to use the bathroom. Very odd. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, whatever. So I kind of walk in, and I see it's not just a couple of people. It's a line. I'm talking a line. And ladies, you may not understand this, but I'll tell you anyway. If there's 3 urinals on the wall, you're either using the left, the right, but never the middle. And if there's somebody on the middle urinal, then you can't go. Sorry. So there's like 8 urinals, and of course every other one is being used. And this is why there was a line, because nobody wanted to break the rule of using the urinal in between. Now, I personally believe that when they build these restrooms, they should just save the money and skip the urinals in between. Just put every other urinal up, because that's all you're ever going to get. Just saying, it's the rules. I don't know why they still do this crap, but anyway. So I walked in, I'm like, man, I ain't standing in line for no bathroom. I don't do lines, much less to go pee. I'm not doing that. So we leave out, and as we're walking out, I discover there's another, whole set of bathrooms on the other side. So I go down there and, go to the bathroom, and no big deal. So we're leaving, and the wife's like, yeah, we got to go to Hobby Lobby and pick some things up. I hate Hobby Lobby. It smells nice when you walk in, but it's a bunch of expensive crap that my wife would buy. If I just turned her loose, it'd be a problem. So I'm not really a Hobby Lobby fanatic. I could live with Hobby Lobby, but, it is what it is. So... And why do we have to go to Hobby Lobby, you ask? Because in 2012, my children gave me a bright yellow shirt with handprints on it that says, World's Greatest Daddy, 2012. Well, this year they decided to recreate it. But here's the caveat. The shirt's no longer a 3X, it's now a 1XL, and their hands are bigger. So they got paint in the shirt, and they made me a new one. I still have my old one, and I still wear it, but they made me a new one, which I thought was pretty cool. But we had to go get the supplies for that. Then we had to go to Aldi to pick up fresh produce for some grill-out stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. We're going to make some vegetables and so forth in the old charcoal grill and do what we do. So that's pretty cool. So we go run our errands, and it's kind of a crazy thing. The way if you've never been to Aldi's, it's like 6 aisles. That's it. And they got like a refrigerated section that goes around the perimeter, and they got all kinds of really cool stuff in there. But then they have an aisle of like bargain basement crap, and some of it's good stuff and some of it's crap. But it's just really interesting the things that they attempt to sell at Aldi's. And of course their bread's less expensive, and it's, if you've got one, check it out. It's certainly worth it. Vegetables and everything were friggin' awesome. Got some other snacks and things for the kids, and we got out of there, about $30 give or take, and bought a bunch of fun stuff, and every bit of it stuff we could use. So now it's time to go home, and for whatever reason, the theater was not hot, but it felt damp. Like, it's just kind of humid, I guess. It was really strange. So, once you start feeling like that, like, you can't, it takes a long time for me to get out from behind that. So long story short, we finally get home, and I told my wife, I'm like, I'm hot. I think this is what I'm hot. So I go to change clothes, and I'm in there, getting into some shorts and a t-shirt because I'm home now. And my son comes knocking on the door. Skylar, hey, Dad. What? How long you gonna be? I'm changing clothes. I don't know. What do you need? Well, how long are you gonna be? How long do you need me to be in here? Just let me know when you're done, son. How about that? Okay. So at this point, I got into, my basketball shorts, my t-shirt, you know what I mean? I'm, laying on the bed playing some games on my phone, and he's like, all right, Dad, you can come out. Okay. So I'm still playing a game of Bejeweled, which I just discovered again for the first time again about 2 weeks ago. So I'm playing my daily challenge, and I got a good one going too, man. I'm like 225,000 points, and it was, Dad, what? You gonna come out? Yeah, let me finish this game. I'll be out in a minute. Well, he has a friend over, which is fine. I wasn't really paying any attention, and so it's been about 2 minutes since the first time he knocked on the door. Now he's knocked on the door again. And so I go and, get some little shorty socks out of the drawer and put my socks on. And I don't walk around my house without shoes. It's just, I don't. So I'm putting my shoes back on so I can go outside and do some cool stuff. And I fly open the door, and there's what appears to be an outdoor grilling device of sorts. And I'm like, okay. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I'm like, this is for me? He's like, yeah. So I go and look at it, and I'm kind of like looking at this enemy territory looking thing in my living room, trying to figure out what it is. And my mother-in-law's on the old FaceTime, so she's like, oh, and then I realize what it is, and it's a propane griddle, which I've been looking at them, and the Blackstones went on sale, toward the end of the summer last year, and I'm like, yeah, I can't spend on a griddle, but I'd love to have one. And it's something I would not buy myself, but it is a griddle. It's a 22.5-inch griddle. I can't remember the brand, but it's not a Blackstone, I can tell you that. But I love everything about this griddle, and it's propane, so I'm having to learn how to use propane and all that good stuff, and like, that's really cool. So for Father's Day, the haul was, I got my Rick and Bubba spatula a couple weeks ago. Videos on the old face space. I love my Rick and Bubba spatula. It's awesome. It works great. It's got a nice, weight to it. It's awesome. I like it. I got the griddle from my oldest son, which I thought was really cool. He and his friend Andre went to go pick it out from Academy, and he said it was one of the last ones available. And I said, no kidding. I'm sure a lot of people thought grills and outdoor cooking and so forth were, the way to go. And it was awesome. I give him props. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of shocked. I'm like, is this mine, or do I have to give it back? Like, what's the story? So, no, it's awesome. And then that led me to have to go find a propane tank, which was not as hard as you would think, but now that you got it, it's like, all right, cool. So I've got one. I'll probably get another one just so I have a backup all the time. But I really enjoyed it, so I'll probably cook another meal on it. Last night we had turkey burgers and fresh vegetables, and which is basically consisted of mushrooms with this cool little cheese stuff in it. And then the fresh vegetables were cauliflower and broccoli. And of course I did that in a little pink Himalayan salt, and oh man, it was delicious. I really thought it was good. It was a different cooking experience. Of course, you gotta season the grill and break it in and all that. And then when I got done with it, I had to, clean it before it got to be a mess. And it's a process, but I enjoy it. It doesn't take any longer than the old charcoal, Big Daddy charcoal grill I got, which, by the way, I got that for Father's Day, I think 11 years ago. I can't remember. Maybe I've had it a long time, too. So I thought that was really awesome. So I really appreciated that. And then my other son, Christopher, got me a scale, which is cool because I got this Chinese scale that I've weighed 211 pounds for 6 months. So I think it's probably not as accurate. And this one's Bluetooth and does body mass index, blah, blah, blah. And when it talks to your phone, it loads all my stats into my phone. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I got a grill, a spatula, a cool card for my wife, and a scale, and a good day. I had a lot of fun yesterday. It was really a fun weekend, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't really get to do that very often. I just got to do what I want to do pretty much all weekend. And then, of course, that leads to the big I. Oh, goodness, that's what I hate to talk about, but we'll talk about that next. So I had this awesome weekend. I had a lot of fun. I got to spend time with the kids, and of course they really, surprised me. And I want to tell you what really got me the most about the griddle. And this is what this really separates the men from the boys, in my opinion. So Skylar and his friend were almost back home, and he discovers that the next day, of course, is Father's Day, and he has not done anything. Even though I reminded these geniuses a week ago, told them they had 7 whole days. Now we're down to like 1, less than 24 hours. So while I'm at the movie, getting my Maverick on, and complaining about the new movie theater, which it really wasn't that bad. I had fun. My son is frantically out trying to source a griddle, which he did. And he used to drive a pickup truck. Now he has a car, a little 4-door sedan, a Nissan Altima. And he kind of didn't think about how he was going to get it home. So, of course, if you ever bought a grill and it's not assembled, it comes in a box. It comes in a decent-sized box. It's not small by any stretch of the imagination. So he puts it in the trunk of this thing. My wife used to have that car. She calls it the Mary Poppins trunk. You can just get all kinds of crap in there. And gets it home. Now, most kids, to his credit, and he did awesome. It has all the features I would ever need. It looks good. It's fun. It's you know what I mean. It's the perfect gift. And most kids would be like, surprise, Dad. And then you got to put it together, and it's a big pain. And like my grill that I got, my Big Daddy grill, charcoal, it's very much that way. I got it, and my wife, went and sourced it and brought it home and covered it up with a blanket, and surprise. And me and my good friend and driving supervisor at the time, JR, put the damn thing together, and took forever, but man, it was awesome when we got done with it. I was like, this is really cool. And I still have that grill to this day. Now it's probably on its last leg or two, but I love that thing. So this one I get, didn't even have to put it together. My son and his friend and my youngest son put their heads together and got some tools together, and they put the grill together. I'm like, that's freaking awesome. So again, I get a griddle ready to rock and roll. Now, the only thing it did not come with, and I'm totally fine with this, was I did not get a propane tank to go with it. Because again, it's trying to, I got to get this gift. I got to get it, and, this, that, and the other. And he got it all assembled. And again, I walk out, and there's this grill, and he's like, didn't have time to get your propane tank, Dad. I'm like, don't worry about it. You've done the heavy lifting. And propane is, the propane tank is the least of my worries. I was proud of them. So most kids would have given this to their dad in a box. Mine's fully assembled. Looks like the display in a store is beautiful. And I had to ask the all-important questions. So on the that part where the plumbing and all is, did y'all put that together? Like, nope. The plumbing all came together. The only thing we had to do was just set it in place, and then you plug it into a propane tank. So I'm like, all right, cool. I can live with that. So it was an awesome gift. I'll just tell you, I really couldn't believe it. I was shocked. But I'm going to use it again tonight. My wife's doing some of that marinated chicken with a special marinade that she does. And she's like, well, I only have frozen vegetables. I'm like, I don't care. Break out the veggies. We're going to cook some more on this bad boy. And got a little olive oil. We're going to put on I got all kinds of cool stuff to do with this thing now. So it's fun. I was teasing my son. I said, when your friend comes, he has his old roommates coming to visit this weekend. And I said, I'll tell you what, son, when your friend comes to visit, we'll pop the lid off this thing, get the table out, and we'll do this hibachi style. He just kind of laughed. I don't think he realized I got my chef's hat on order and a pair of spatulas and a new fork to go along with the, anyway. So it was awesome. We had a great weekend. And last night, I guess it was about 9 o'clock, as the weekend's coming to an end. And really, the weekend's officially over at 9 o'clock, let's be real. I told my wife, golly, I'm just so tired, man. I'm exhausted. So, I finally get in the shower and wash the weekend off. And, I'm laying in bed. And I passed out probably about 10:30. And I don't know exactly what woke me up. But my wife got up and, I guess she was getting a snack order, which is fine. It's probably about 11 o'clock or so. I go back to sleep. And next thing I know, I wake up about midnight, maybe a little after midnight. And I'm awake. I'm talking like I've had maybe 30, 45 minutes of good sleep, if that. And I got the case of the big eye. Oh my goodness, the big eye's here. And it's here to stay. So, I get up and get a glass of water and wander around a little bit and, kind of everybody's passed out. Even the dog's passed out. So I'm like, man, this is not good. So big eye's here to stay. I don't know exactly what happened, but about 2:15, I said, man, I gotta figure this thing out. So I got up and drank a glass of water and went and laid back down. And finally, I got to sleep, I guess, till after 3. And I woke up and it was Monday. Well, funny story about today. It's practically a 3-day weekend. Juneteenth was yesterday, and today is the federal holiday. So, I went to work this morning. I was late getting here, and I was kind of frustrated. So I get to work, and my partner's been here. It's like, we need to do this, this, and this. Well, can't do that because people are gone, and nobody's at work today. So one of the customers that we deal with dropped a truck off last week for a lighting install. That's done. I call him. They're not working today. So, okay. So we had a couple other things that were on the books for today, and nobody said anything about being closed today. All the companies that we were supposed to, we had them on the books for today and, pickups and things like that. Nobody said anything about it. I actually left messages for a couple of them and got phone calls back. So, last year, Juneteenth, the federal holiday was on a Friday. This year, it's on a Monday. So I'm definitely going to have to keep my eyes open next year to see how the Juneteenth holiday lands because we're really, we just had Memorial Day a couple weeks ago. Juneteenth was yesterday, and then we got 4th of July coming up. So it's kind of the great equalizer as far as, holidays go. So it's kind of like a mid-holiday somewhere in there. So, again, it's something we're having to kind of get used to around here. So we've got a little bit of time left. 4th of July hits, and then this summer's just marching along. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but we had a great weekend, and I'm so excited that I was able to spend the time with my kids and my wife, and that I was able to do. And I even kicking around the idea. I'm trying to be forward thinking. Thinking about taking the wife and kids on a beach trip next year. I know I'm not allowed to take vacations anymore since last year I went on a vacation to Disney and all hell broke loose. So think I'm gonna take a beach trip next year. I'm not really sure. Kind of looking around and seeing what's out there, but it's something I would like to do, and I think I'd really enjoy that. So who knows? But that was my Father's Day weekend. We're going to wrap it up here and, go from there. But hope the fathers out there had a great Father's Day. I hope the kids did something special for their fathers. And, hey, another one in the books. And looking forward to a very busy week. Of course, Monday I thought we'd be busy. We're going to be very busy tomorrow. And I got a feeling this week's going to just click by real quick. So, anyway. Thank you so much for swinging by and hanging out with me for a little while, and sharing my weekend with you was a lot of fun. And we're going to look forward to a big week this week, and I'll be back next week with some more stories for you. So until next time, thanks for joining me. Visit my website at podpage.com/Chris Black. That has all of the podcasts on it, as well as all of my social media information. Be sure to check that out and add me to the lineup on your social media. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast as well, and tell your friends and family, and help us get the word out. We've been doing pretty good with the growth. Let's keep that going a little bit more. And hey, I'll keep doing this until nobody listens, and even then I'll probably still do it. So have a great week, and look forward to seeing you next week. Bye now.